Having watched a gazillion presenters at all levels of expertise, I can tell you that one of the most difficult things to accomplish from the front of the room is a smooth, enjoyable audience interactive experience. It looks so simple. Ask them a question, get them to talk with each other, easy peasy, right? They will just love it. In reality, successful audience involvement in your presentation has a lot of moving parts. You're dealing with a group of people who probably came to your meeting thinking that they would just sit and listen. They thought you would educate them. Now you want them to do what? Many interaction attempts I've seen are awkward and of little value to the audience. They just create some momentary chaos in the room. Every experienced coach, trainer, or speaker I have ever seen has their own special way of handling it, but there are some common techniques and strategies. I want to break down a simple exercise the way I would do it. See if any of this will work for you. Number one, introduce the idea that you want them to think about. What is the particular issue you want them to explore? And then tell them you're going to ask them to participate. Don't spring a request on them. Get them pre-thinking of how they might respond. Here's an example. We have been talking about the idea that your presentation is the most critical 30 to 90 seconds of your speech. In a minute, I'm going to ask you to write down a few ideas about openings and then share them with your neighbor. Number two, give them clear, explicit instructions. Putting them on a slide is a pretty good idea. The example is this. Here's what we're going to do. I will give you 2 minutes and I want you to write down on your worksheets 2 to 3 strategies for starting an interesting presentation. Remember, we want to grab their attention, get them thinking about your topic, and maybe even elevate the energy in the room. Remember the old show business wisdom of starting strong? That's what we're looking for. Then we're going to take some time and share our ideas with a neighbor. Number 3, start the exercise, repeat the instructions, and set the time. Here's an example. We have 2 minutes starting right now. Write down your 3 best ideas to start a great presentation. Then give them a timing heads up. Okay, we have about 30 seconds left. Number 4, get their attention back to you. After a writing exercise, this will not be too difficult, but you must be assertive. If there's random activity and talking in the room, make sure your audience knows that you want them back now. Many speakers use a chime or a whistle or some other device to get their attention. Number 5, now it's time to get them to turn to their neighbor and share their thoughts. Again, your instructions need to be very specific. This is usually where the room explodes with talk and movement. Here's the example. We're going to take 3 minutes for you to turn and share your ideas with your neighbor. After 1.5 minutes, I will ask you to switch so that each person gets a chance. Then we're going to have a little time to share with the whole group and see what we've all learned. Okay? Go. Number 6, get their attention back to you. This will be much harder than the first time. People will be engaged with their partner and not want to stop talking. Your job is to actively control this and corral them back so that they are quiet and paying attention to you. You should do this assertively, but as to not be overly offensive. Adding humor and a fun attitude is a big help for this. Number 7, now comes the part that many consider to be the most important, the wrap-up or the debrief. Your writing and then sharing exercise will mean very little unless you help them figure out what they've just experienced. An example, and there are many ways to do this. Here is just one. You've now had a chance to brainstorm a little with your partner some ideas for creating a strong opening for your presentation. Let's take a minute to share our collective knowledge and see what we've heard. I will ask a few of you to tell us what caught your ear, what you thought was a good idea. Raise your hand and give us a very quick sentence of something either you thought of or your partner thought of. Remember, be quick. We want to get in as many as we can. What did you learn? Depending on the group, you may need to encourage them to raise their hand and participate. Be sure to reinforce the be quick rule. After each, make sure you thank them for their contribution and make a short comment of what they said. Put your brief spin on it. You might want to repeat their words so the entire audience can hear what they said. Take maybe 4 or 5 contributors, make sure you thank each one of them and comment, and then say, we've got time for just one more. You may want to make a quick comment on the overall value of the exercise. Give them some additional ideas or things they can think about later, and then move on. Surprise! This simple exercise is not so simple when done correctly, is it? Here are a few final thoughts. As you can see, even this simple exercise can take a fair amount of time from your presentation. Be sure to allow for it. And be sure at all times to give the audience specific instructions and to thank and respect them for their participation. Audience exercises can quickly get out of control, especially if you have a larger group. Be prepared to be gently assertive. Bear in mind that some of your audience may be extreme introverts and will be very reluctant or even uncomfortable to participate. It may be a good idea to acknowledge this and suggest that this will be a very relaxed and low-stress activity. And finally, here is what I think is the most important point of this whole audience interaction thing. Audiences initially are reluctant to participate, but in the end, they generally love it. And even though you may have had to reduce the overall content of what you present to them so that there will be enough time for the exercise, your audience will feel like they've received so much more. This is very powerful stuff. So if you're game, give it a try. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you are respectful and take care of your audience. If well done, they will think you are the smartest person they have ever heard, when in fact, they have done much of the work themselves. This is Tom Nixon. We'll see you in the next video.